Here in central Pennsylvania and other rural parts of the country, trafficking is real, and it is most likely to begin with betrayal. Fox 43's Marshall Keeley introduces us to a woman whose abuse started inside her own home at the hands of someone she trusted.
Starting out my childhood from very early on was just a barrage of abuse, different types of abuse.
Sarah Isaac Samuel grew up in fear of her father and stepmother. At home, the Pennsylvania native faced physical violence at every turn. School offered no exit from her nightmare. In first grade, she told a teacher her parents were not feeding her or her siblings.
They called home and, asked my stepmom about it. And then when I got home for lunch that day, there was a whole incident that took place, which gave me a huge heads up that it wasn't safe to talk to anybody at school because they talked to my parents.
Isaac Samuel says she was first sexually abused at 4 years old. By the age of 10, she faced a new horror. Sarah's bus driver started molesting her regularly, both on the bus and in his home. She didn't know it at the time, but it was all orchestrated by Isaac Samuel's own stepmother, who would often take her to the bus driver's house. The bus driver was paying her stepmother for access.
She was making arrangements with him to take me to his house. Sometimes he would pick me up, doing sexual things with me. He got permission to actually keep me on the bus after all the other students had gone off. He would actually force me to sit in the front seat where he was fondling me on the bus.
She tried to escape the abuse, often hiding in large pipes under the road and waiting for the bus to go by. But when her parents would find out she wasn't at school, it meant more violence at home. The trafficking went on for 2 years.
With familial trafficking, everything looks normal. That's the whole thing. They try to make it look as if nothing is going on. It's happening everywhere.
Familial trafficking definitely is something that we've been talking a lot about, especially in PA, where you have rural areas, and that's where familial trafficking you'll see most often.
Zozan Kuchakaiden is the Anti-Human Trafficking Services Coordinator at the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. She says Sarah's story is not uncommon. Traffickers are looking to fill a need, she says, whether it's substances, food, or money, and they often exploit the people they're closest to.
It's really just about getting what they need in that moment, and if it takes, putting someone else into that situation to get that, that's what they'll do.
While they can be hard to spot, Kuchakaiden says PCAR often speaks to law enforcement, healthcare workers, and schools about the signs of familial human trafficking.
The withdrawal, the inattentiveness, any kind of sign that they're fearful or submissive, these sorts of things you can report.
Isaac Samuel says the signs were there, and Children and Youth Services even paid them a visit. Her parents, she says, knew it was coming, making the home and family look perfect for a day. CYS asked the children about the abuse in front of their parents. Fearing retaliation, Sarah and her siblings denied it, and the worker left.
They always went back to my step-parents or my dad and my stepmom and, got information from them, which they're the ones that were actually perpetrating the issues, the abuse onto us. I think that people need to start listening to children and not see their outward behaviors as a problem, but as a sign that something else is happening.
It would take decades for Isaac Samuel to fully face her traumatic childhood. Her book, A Journey Back to Restoration, took 7 years to complete.
During the whole process of writing it, there was a lot of healing because a lot of different moments were brought up in my life that I had forgotten about. My goal is to reach as many people as I can, raise as much awareness as I can, and provide as much help as I can.
As part of that help, Sarah and her husband took in 37 foster children over 2 decades, many of whom experienced the same difficult realities.
At least 17 of them, they have some form of sexual abuse. Of those 17, 8 are boys. And of those 8 boys, every single one of them were sexually abused by a male figure in their life. So it's not just a girl problem, it is a guy problem too.
My dad worked outside of the home, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and as we got older, I was 8 years old, and my older brother sexually abused me.
A central Pennsylvania native, Brent says his brother abused him for 2 years. He'd find the courage to stand up to his brother and stop the abuse, but he kept it all a secret. His pain and unresolved feelings led to a pornography addiction. It was only when he faced his past and found help that he began to heal.
In Pennsylvania, there's a lot of good counselors and there's a lot of great programs, and so they really helped me out. It really helped me to talk through everything.
Brent met Sarah by accident, and after some conversation, each shared their story.
People do really bad things to people and to people who they profess to love, right? Their own blood. And so it cemented in my mind and in my heart that I can't know about these things that are happening and not doing anything about it.
The two teamed up to make a difference. They've been invited to speak at events all over the world. Brent now runs a ministry that supports survivors and prepares people in the medical field to identify trafficking and abuse. Isaac Samuel leads an art class that gives survivors a safe space to talk and a creative way to express their emotions on paper or canvas. She realized the power of painting while working with one of her foster children.
He said he feels like a volcano ready to erupt. And he said he has so much darkness in his life, and these little yellow dots represented all of the people who were in his life. But these two big ones represented my husband and I, because we were the first people who actually believed him. He said nobody believed him. And if you heard his story, there is nothing but trauma in his life.
Survivors of abuse.
He did this portion of the picture, and I did this portion of the picture.
Pushing forward together.
And so it's kind of like going from darkness to light.
But what will it take to keep people out of the darkness?
From a larger standpoint, it's about addressing those systemic issues like homelessness and substance abuse and lack of employment opportunities, access to proper health care and education. And that's really where it starts.
It would also take a change in mentality.
We can't stop trafficking until we address the abuse that occurs in our communities and that broader cultural context in which it occurs.
They supply it because people demand it. And in the United States, we are the #1 demander of sex with children in the world.
It is definitely happening here in Pennsylvania. It's a scary thought that it won't go away.
Marshall Keeley, Fox 43 News.